This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for coming to our special board meeting. At this time, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and this is a special board meeting. So, call to order, EJ Caldwell, could you please do a roll call?
Yes, I can, President Williams. For the determination of a quorum, is Director Alvarez present?
Here.
Director Scott Houston?
Yes, I'm here.
Gloria Gray?
I'm here.
Director Don Deere?
He just arrived.
And President Williams?
Here. Thank you. So, then we have any public comment?
Yes, we do, President Williams. As mentioned, we have several members of the public that are here to comment. We also, as I mentioned, have two written submissions that we would read into the record. It's worth noting, and I pointed this out prior to the meeting, that we do have Mr. Angel Alvarenga here for anybody that would like an interpreter from Spanish to English present today to assist us. With that, I would ask that our Manager of Administration read through our public comment queue.
Well, before you do that, are there any other interpreters for any other languages there?
We do not have any other interpreters.
Okay. We'll go ahead and start with the public comment.
Thank you, Mr. President. The first speaker that we have today is Charming Evelyn.
Good afternoon, board members and the staff. I want to say thank you to the staff for putting this meeting together and providing adequate notice to the public. And also thank you for listening and having a Spanish translator today. This is Charming Evelyn of the Water Committee for Sierra Club. It is a very, very sad day today in West Basin's history, and I take no delight in what I have to say today to address the board. However, Hello?
Hello.
We can hear you.
Did you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Some members of this board have failed their constituents and the communities they were elected to represent. You have failed victims of abuse, you have failed the honest, hardworking West Basin staff, and you have failed the general public. First of all, 3 board members voted to renew the contract of the GM in January, whom they knew had committed and settled litigation for prior bad acts of sexual harassment. Secondly, this board hired counsel who resigned in disgrace from Central Basin to represent West Basin. Someone who has been allegedly accused of fraud by illegally making improper money transfers. A simple PRA would have given you this information. Thirdly, a sitting board member at the last special board meeting making remarks about wishing someone would sexually harass him is beyond the pale, and he needs to resign. That shows a grave disrespect for women and anyone else who has suffered abuse. Fourth, trying to deny the public access to a public agency meeting during the pandemic and violating the Brown Act. The Ron Wildermuth and the Diane Gatzer, who I had the pleasure of working with for many years, would not recognize this West Basin. It has become a travesty. Time to do what is right. Stop wasting ratepayer dollars. The GM has to go. Director Donald Deere needs to resign for his comments. Hire an HR firm to replace present counsel and find a new GM. We call for absolute transparency moving forward. Exercise due diligence and transparency in your hiring practices. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker that we have is Martha Camacho Rodriguez.
Yes, so a few things I'd like to mention is first and foremost your staff and Julie, who specifically is very prompt in responding. In regards to the 24-hour notice, when you don't give sufficient notice to the community, that shows a lack of transparency and it discourages public comment. So one of the things that I'd like to discuss is basically at the last board meeting when public was not given the option to participate virtually, that really shows how behind the scenes people are navigating for the lack of a better word, shenanigans that are not in the best interest of our community and the people who actually elected our board to this position. Why is that? It is our understanding that it was done on the advice of Counsel and Director Gray, the same Director Gray with Director Williams and Director Deere, who voted to renew your GM's contract in January, even though they were aware of all of his prior bad acts, and that they settled for litigation. How does this help your group of employees or people that could be potential victims? And then as we speak about the victims, we want it to be very clear that we have watched a precedent set by many of you who continue to cut deals behind the scenes because you can in a closed session cut deals behind the scenes, and then those cutting of deals continue to make a long pool of victims that do not deserve the situation that they're left to handle after the fact. And so you do not want to be looked at as someone who is vetting predators to come into pools to prey. And that's basically what happens when you have people that promote, support, and sustain serial sexual predators, and then you yourselves as directors will make stupid comments like, oh, I wish someone would sexually harass me. What does that say about you? This is not who we are when we are elected to serve the public. And the public doesn't deserve elected officials in that capacity, nor do they deserve to be vetted as victims. And then you create a pipeline of victims that basically will become voiceless and stay voiceless. So we are here to address the issues that have been created, and we are here to be the voice for the voiceless. So I'm asking that you do right by the voiceless and that you continue to practice best practices that will be in benefit of the community. And at the end of the day, this is an opportunity for you, the board members, to review your personnel decisions, your water decisions, and the future of the West Basin. We hope that West Basin will take this opportunity to look inward, particularly learn from experience of the Metropolitan Water District over the last few months. And we ask board members to exercise due diligence to bring this unfortunate circumstance to a speedy conclusion. I want to remind you that right now we have a map that Central Basin, WRD, the West Basin has had a long history of, being perpetrators, of violating human rights, personnel rights, ethical, and you need to do right by the victims and you need to do right by your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Yvonne Watson.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Yvonne Martinez Watson. I'm the chair of the Environmental and Social Justice Committee for the Sierra Club Angeles chapter. I'm here to amplify the voices of my fellow activists and let you know that, West Basin, you are not putting yourself in a very good light by not doing things in a transparent manner in accords with the Brown Act and the Bagley-Keene Act. Last year, the governor issued Executive Order N-29-20, and this year on June 11, 2021, that was further clarified Executive Order N-08-21. It gives further clarification on the fact that the public has a right to participate in these meetings. And these just because of there's a pandemic doesn't mean that you have the right to limit public participation. Now, what you're discussing today is in closed session, and I do understand that, on a closed session item, there are certain rules that apply, but the public still has an opportunity, should be given the opportunity to comment on that, especially when you're dealing with issues that have garnered a lot of public attention and press coverage. So I'm asking you, please, in the interest of public comments and public participation, you must grant people the right to participate in these meetings and have a voice in what is being done. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Joey for Downey.
Yes. I just want to start off by addressing the representatives, Gray, Deere, and Williams, who voted a sexual predator in and allowed him to keep his job. That is not only disgusting, it's depraved. I don't know how you three people can sit there and know that you're responsible for the empowerment of a sexual predator who till this day has not even gone to get therapy or treatment for his sickness. Whatever backdoor deals and crooked negotiations you guys are doing to empower predators, we are going to hold you accountable. We are going to document every single thing you do. The 20-hour notice fail is a violation of the Brown Act. I'm going to be very clear. We will put our names on any legal document that's going to result in the thorough investigation of all of you who are engaged in this illegal activity, and we will pursue this until you are either removed or imprisoned. We are not here to hold back on any of you. There's already going to be a media campaign with those three names posted all over your neighborhoods, all over the internet of every group that's in your area, letting them know that Gray, Deere, and Williams are empowering sexual predators and they are doing nothing. Donald, your sexist remarks not only make me sick, it's disgusting, and you should be held for discrimination and sexism in that office for all the women that are in there and all the staff. You should either resign immediately, or you can go to joeyfordowney.gmail.com and you can reach out to me and I will educate you on your sexism and bigotry. And maybe then you can sit there and learn some respect for the women there. Last but not least, you guys are idiotic if you think you're going to put O'Neill in that basin, in that agency, after he on video, he's on record, public record, people, tried to tell his staff to make illegal wires. Both of his staff, Andrew Hamilton and the name that I cannot recall at the moment, but I will provide to you at the next meeting, have admitted on public record that Mr. O'Neill told them to illegally transfer money after the elected board at that time had told them not to do so. That illegal activity is still going to be pursued until Mr. O'Neill loses his license and he finds himself in legal issues that might require him to be imprisoned. And anyone who continues to empower him, like you're empowering this sexual predator, will be held accountable. So with that said, Deere, Williams, and Gray, you need us to resign immediately. And I mean immediately. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rob Brailes. Rob Brailes.
Thank you. I just want to say that Santa Claus John Deere needs to resign. You need to get some mental treatment before you open your loose mouth of how you want to be sexually harassed. If that's the case, Mr. John Deere, Donald Trump Deere Donald Trump, you need to resign. That's not right that you make comments that you would like to be sexually harassed. What about if your mother wanted to be sexually harassed? What about if your wife, maybe you have a husband, maybe you have a kid? How would you feel if your kid wanted to be sexually harassed and they said that is not appropriate conduct, Mr. Donald Dear Trump. Those comments, that's locker room talk, Mr. Donald. And I just want to say that Counsel O'Neill should not be placed in a position of trust based on his history with the Central Basin. The Central Basin accepted his letter of resignation, and it was well known and reported to the press. Allegations to unauthorized payments were made to Nosman LLC after the Basin Board gave specific instructions against that. You guys are putting crooks. This firm is this gray collar firm. I'm not going to call it a white collar, and I'm not going to call it blue collar. It's a gray collar firm. This firm is responsible for a lot of damages here in Southeast LA. The person that runs this firm, Lucille Roybal, our son, has an office in El Monte at the city hall in El Monte. They're doing damage in the city of Downey. They did damage in the Central Basin, and all these crooks need to resign. And we cannot let O'Neill be the counsel, because we know he likes to close backdoor deals with other people, illegally wiring money to a law firm, Nosman LLC. And, you know, if you crooks don't resign, then I guess Donald Dear Trump is not going to come for Christmas for you. You're not going to get a Christmas present. So it's time for you crooks to resign. And to all the women that were assaulted, I think that there are men that support you. And these men that are in office should not be there for many reasons. So my prayers go out to the victims of harassment. I yield.
Next.
Thank you. The next speaker is Katie Wagner.
This is Katie. I really feel the secondhand embarrassment for all of you associated with West Basin, thanks to the poor leadership that we're seeing here. This is humiliating, and you're really lucky that the late night comedy shows haven't yet picked up on what you're doing, because they would have a field day with everything happening here. Director Dear, your comments about wanting to be sexually harassed, that's just disgusting. That's deplorable, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Director Gray, you gave a lofty speech about sexual harassment after the Shaw Law Report came out at Met, which also sounded like a campaign speech, by the way. And in light of what has happened here, you've lost all credibility. You were a role model for young women, for especially women of color, and you're really just, everything you're doing right now is throwing away your entire legacy of anything you've accomplished. This right here, and the actions you are choosing right now, this speaks volumes. All of this, everything, this is cringeworthy. I'm embarrassed for you. It's really disappointing that West Basin has repeatedly had special sessions which only require a 24-hour notice. This is how many times have we already said this to you? This lack of transparency is transparent to us, that you want to discourage public engagement, particularly at your last special board meeting. It's a waste of ratepayer money to be continuing to pay Mr. Shields any salary. And, you know, eventually he's probably going to be serving prison time, and that's when we're going to have to pay for him again. So let's not spend any more money on his salary. This is just, there's bad advice in every direction here. Everything about this is embarrassing, and the only thing that can really be done now at this point is to shut this down, apologize, remove the bad apples here, and move on if you want to have any saving grace. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Connor Everett.
Thank you, Connor Everett for the Southern California Watershed Alliance, the Environmental Justice Coalition for Water, and the desal response group, and others that have asked me to speak. I'm hoping you do the right thing and we can move forward today, but I was glad to hear people fully exhibit their First Amendment rights. It's difficult as I remember being a board member on a water agency, to hear what people have to say, but that's part of the job. The other part's to actually do something about it. I also wanted to refer to the 2 meetings I went to in public because I didn't think I'd get to speak last week, the last special meeting, unless I drove down there. I do appreciate you having an interpreter, and I appreciate you as chair, Director Williams, letting people speak. However, the meeting we actually had on the so-called cost-benefit analysis report still leaves many unanswered questions, some of which I asked directly, and others who were there both in person, the 5 or 6 who showed up, and many others who were off the phone, are waiting for the business of the agency to be done. Hopefully after today, you'll move forward with true transparency and not just words. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next 2 items that I have to read into the record are from Kathleen Smith, a longtime Sierra Club member, a member of the Water Committee and of the Angeles chapter. And the second is from Joe Coffey. They both have asked that their comments be read into the record and to provide all board members with copies. As I read this, I'm going to read it once, but they both say the same exact thing. So at this time, I'll begin. Thank you to the staff for running these meetings. It is disappointing that West Basin has repeatedly had special sessions which only require 24-hour notice. This lack of transparency is transparent to us. That you want to discourage public engagement, particularly at the last special board meeting. We thank you for giving us more than 24 hours notice. It is a waste of ratepayer money to be continuing to pay Mr. Shields' salary at this time, given that he is not worthy of this position of public service and trust in 2021. We support transparency and ethical standards that protect all workers. Last Tuesday a special board meeting was called and the public was not given an option to participate virtually. What was that? It is our understanding it was done on the advice of Counsel and Director Gray, the same Director Gray and Director Williams and Director Deere who voted to renew the GM's contract in January, even though they were aware of his prior bad acts and settled litigation. This action makes it hard to believe any of your comments about gender or harassment at West Basin, MWD, or anywhere else. The counsel who gave bad advice is the same counsel who resigned under a cloud of suspicion of fraud from Central Basin in February 2020. Counsel O'Neill instructed a board member and staff to violate the Brown Act by denying access to the public during an ongoing pandemic to a public meeting. Counsel Neal should not be placed in a position of trust on his history with Central Basin MWD. The contents of the letter accepting his resignation from Central Basin MWD is well known and was reported in the press. Allegations including actions involving payment not authorized by the Central Basin Board. One of the many allegations, quote, you improperly and without CB board approval directed Central Basin staff to make illegal and improper monetary wire transfer to Nossaman LLC, even after the CB board gave specific instructions against this, end quote. To Donald Deere, who made the comment last week at the special board meeting that he is waiting for someone to sexually harass him, this is an outrageous and unacceptable comment. You need to resign immediately. You do not represent the people. Your statement clearly shows you have no empathy towards victims of abuse and you think these proceedings are a joke. This is an opportunity for you, the board members, to review your personnel decisions, your water decisions, and the future of West Basin. We hope that West Basin will take the opportunity to look inward and particularly learn from the experience of the Metropolitan Water District over the last few months. We ask the board members to exercise due diligence to bring this unfortunate situation to a speedy conclusion. Dragging out a decision affects staff morale and is unfair to the ratepayers who are footing the bill for an employee to be on an extended administrative leave of absence. In the past time to bring this It's past time to bring this matter to close. Hire an HR firm to begin the search for a new GM or hire from within. There are many capable staff members who can rise to the occasion. Focus instead on infrastructure and expansion of the Edward C. Little recycling plant and 21st century solutions. Invest in more conservation and nature-based solutions. West Basin is indeed a pioneer in water planning, but you can do more. Clean house, be transparent in your dealings, and exercise due diligence with your hires and with the public. Remove Patrick Shields. That ends the comments for public comment, President.
Español, por favor.
Williams, we do have one additional public commenter here. Mr. Downey Helps would like to speak. I do believe that he will be speaking in Spanish, and we do have Mr. Angel Alvarenga here to translate for him.
Okay, very good.
I'm ready to translate. Estoy listo para que empiece, caballero.
Quiero empezar diciendo de que me da tristeza, pero más que todo me da asco que el señor Deere y el señor Gray y el señor el Williams.
So first of all, I would like to start by saying that by showing my disgust that Mr. Gray, Mr. Williams of the stuff that they're doing.
Que todavía están empleados después de empoderar a un predador sexual.
That they're still employed after giving power to a sexual predator.
No tienen hijas, no tienen mujeres en sus vidas que respetan más que el dinero.
Don't you have daughters? Don't you have women in your life that you respect more than money?
¿Cómo pueden tener a una persona ahí que es un problema para las mujeres en esa área?
How can you have a person that is a problem for women in that area?
También les quiero decir de que ustedes quieren agarrar a un defenda.
I would also like to say that you would like to get a defender.
Un abogado que es corrupto.
An attorney that is a corrupt lawyer.
Que ha dicho a la gente que trabaja debajo de él que haga pagos ilegales.
That he has told people that work under him to make illegal payments.
Y que eso está en el récord para la gente que lo mire.
And that is in the record for people to see.
Y con las decisiones de empoderar a un predador sexual y ahora a un corrupto.
And with the decision of empowering a sexual predator and now a corrupt.
Ustedes están atacando a la comunidad.
You are attacking the community.
Quiero decirles de que tampoco están siguiendo las reglas y no están dejando a la comunidad participar como deben, como la semana pasada.
I would like to say that you're not following community guidelines and you're not letting the community participate as it was seen last week.
Y por último, quiero decir que el señor Donald, que su comentario es horrible.
And lastly, I would like to say to Mr. Donald that your comment is horrible.
Yo respeto a las mujeres y espero que cualquier persona que sea hombre que también respeta a las mujeres.
I respect women and I expect any man to respect women as well.
Y como usted no entiende eso, debería de quitear inmediatamente.
And since you do not understand that, you should quit immediately.
Tu presencia ahí en esa agencia es un daño a la comunidad.
Your presence in that agency, it's bad for the community. It's a damage for the community.
Y el señor Gray, el señor Deere y el señor Williams, vamos a asegurarnos que ustedes nunca vuelvan a sentarse en esos asientos, nunca más.
Mr. Gray, Mr. Deere, and Mr. Williams will make sure that you can no longer sit in those seats anymore.
Para que pierdan la elección y nunca vuelvan a trabajar por corruptos.
So you can lose the election and you can no longer work because you're corrupt.
Es todo, gracias.
That's it. Thank you.
President Williams, I do believe that that concludes our public comment.
Okay, very good. So then our next thing is that we'll go to the presentation calendar. Item 4.
We do not have any presentations today.
About number 5, action calendar.
No action items today.
Number 6, information calendar.
No information items today.
And what is the next item?
Item number 7 is closed session. We do have one item, A, conference with legal counsel related to government code section 54957, public employee discipline, dismissal, or release.
And the general counsel?
Yes, that's correct. We do have a closed session pursuant to 54957 as described on item 7A.
Okay, at this time, we will recess to closed session.
And I believe all the directors have a separate call-in number for that.
But we can stay on this link here for the meeting. Okay, so we have a quorum. Where's Donald Deere?
President Williams, I believe he's logging back in. We do have a quorum. We do have Director Alvarez as well as Director Houston here in person, as well as you virtually.
And what about Director Gray? I didn't hear her at the end of our closed session.
I do not see her in the virtual room. Staff will call her right now.
Okay.
President Williams, Director Gloria Gray will not be able to join us. I just tried to give Director Don Deere a phone call and there was no answer.
Okay. Well, then we can go on. You give me one more try for Director Deere, I guess. But we're just reconvening the meeting, reporting out. Is that it?
That is correct, and staff is
Okay.
calling Director Deere once more.
Okay. And what about our legal counsel?
I'm ready to report when you are, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, now we got you. Okay, very good. All right,
Okay.
AJ, we're ready. Staff's ready?
Thank you very much, President Williams. I do believe we are wrapping up our item number 7A, and I do believe legal counsel is ready to report out.
Okay, now it's time to reconvene our special meeting, and General Counsel will now report out.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The board met pursuant to Government Code Section 54957 as described as item 7A. In the first order of business, the board has unanimously decided to change the designation for EJ Caldwell from acting general manager to interim general manager. Secondly, the board, on motion of Director Houston, seconded by Director Deere, the board agreed to enter a separation and a release agreement with Patrick Shields, which includes a termination of admin paid leave effective today. That vote was approved 4-0-1 with Director Gray abstaining. The board also acted on motion of Director Elwood, seconded by Director Houston, to instruct staff to solicit qualifications from the executive search, begin the process for selection of the next West Basin general manager. That motion was approved 4-1 with Director Deere voting no. That concludes my closed session report.
All right, well, thank you. Is there any other items coming before the board? Any director comments? Director comments, any out there? Well then.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, Michelle. I've overlooked one statement that.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And it concerns recent meetings of the board.
Right.
During several recent meetings, the board met in closed session, the general manager's performance evaluation. Several members of the board speculated during the public comment portion of these recent meetings, suggesting the board's decision to place the general manager on administrative leave was the result of allegations of sexual harassment against him. This speculation is incorrect and unfounded. The events precipitating the board's decision did not involve or result from allegations of sexual harassment. That concludes the statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Well then, this meeting is adjourned.
Bye.